There's a ritual that happens every morning that you don't notice. You wake up, and before you even open your eyes, before you check your phone, before you move, something happens. You check in with them. The voices, the ghosts, the invisible jury that's been watching you your entire life. Your father's disappointment, your mother's expectations, that person who left you, that friend who betrayed you. Every authority figure who ever told you who you were. They're all there, sitting in the theater of your mind, waiting, watching, judging every decision you make. And you perform for them every single day. You're not living your life. You're auditioning for an audience of ghosts who will never be satisfied. This is why you're not dangerous, not because you lack skills, not because you're not smart enough or strong enough, but because you're still asking permission from people who aren't even in the room anymore. Some of them are dead. Some of them have forgotten you exist, and yet they run your entire life. Machiavelli understood something that most men will never accept. Power doesn't come from learning new things. It comes from severing, from cutting the invisible threads that bind you to everyone who ever convinced you that you were small. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you how to perform the most dangerous ritual a man can perform. The complete severing. The cutting of every attachment that keeps you controllable. And I need to warn you, once you do this, once you cut these threads, you can't reattach them. You can't go back to being the person everyone expected you to be. You'll be free, but you'll also be alone in a way most men will never understand. If that terrifies you, leave now. But if you're ready to become truly dangerous, if you're ready to walk through this world unbound by anyone's expectations, including your own, stay with me, because what I'm about to show you isn't motivation. It's surgery, and it's going to hurt. Let me tell you what nobody wants to admit. You are not free. You never have been. Every decision you make, every word you speak, every action you take, you're checking with an invisible counsel. What would Dad think? What would she say? What would they do if they saw me like this? You call this conscience. You call this being considerate. You call this being a good person. But here's the truth. It's a leash, and you've been wearing it so long you forgot it was there. Machiavelli watched princes rise and fall, and he noticed something. The princes who fell weren't weaker. They weren't less intelligent. They were more attached. Attached to their father's legacy, attached to old alliances, attached to being seen a certain way. And those attachments became weapons, used against them by men who had severed theirs. Because here's what nobody tells you. Every attachment is a handle, and people will use it to move you wherever they want. You love your family? That's a handle. Someone will threaten them to control you. You need approval? That's a handle. Someone will withhold it to manipulate you. You're afraid of being alone? That's a handle. Someone will threaten abandonment to own you. The dangerous man has no handles. Not because he doesn't love, not because he doesn't care, but because he's severed the attachments to outcomes. He loves, but he's not attached to being loved back. He gives, but he's not attached to receiving. He shows up, but he's not attached to being needed. This makes him impossible to manipulate, impossible to control, impossible to break. And this terrifies weak people, because they operate through manipulation, through guilt, through leveraging your attachments against you. But when they reach for your handle and find nothing, when they try to guilt you and you just smile, when they threaten to leave and you say, okay, they panic because they have no power over you. Now here's the question you need to ask yourself. Who is still controlling you from the grave? What voices are still running your internal board meeting? And more importantly, are you ready to fire them all? I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you uncomfortable. You don't want to be powerful. Not really. You say you do. You watch these videos. You read the books. You talk about growth and ambition and becoming more. But deep down, you're terrified of it. Because power means transformation. And transformation means death. The death of who you are. The death of your current relationships. The death of your familiar suffering. And you love your suffering. You're addicted to it. Machiavelli wrote something that most scholars ignore. He said that men love their chains because chains are familiar, and freedom is terrifying. Think about it. Every time you're about to break through to the next level, what happens? You get sick. You make a stupid mistake. You sabotage the opportunity. Something always stops you. You call it bad luck, but it's not. It's your subconscious protecting you. From what? From the terror of your own bigness. Because if you become powerful, you lose people. Your friends who bond with you over complaining. Your family who knows how to interact with weak you, but not powerful you. The woman who liked you controllable, they'll all fall away. Not because you're mean, but because you're no longer vibrating at their frequency. And your subconscious knows this. So it keeps you small, it keeps you safe, it keeps you suffering in a familiar way rather than thriving in an unfamiliar way. This is the most dangerous trap, not external obstacles, internal commitment to smallness. Machiavelli understood that most men don't fail because the world beats them. They fail because they beat themselves first. They sabotage, they retreat. They choose the known suffering over the unknown victory. The dangerous man recognizes this pattern, and he makes a decision. He chooses expansion over comfort. He chooses transformation over familiarity. He chooses death and rebirth over stagnant survival. And here's what happens. The moment you stop sabotaging yourself, the moment you commit to bigness, everyone around you will try to pull you back. They'll call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of abandoning them. And you know what? They're right. You have changed. You are abandoning the old version of yourself, and that's exactly what you need to do. Because you can't become dangerous while carrying people who need you weak. Everything I'm showing you comes from one man who performed this ritual 500 years ago. His name was Niccolo Machiavelli. In 1513, he was tortured, exiled, and stripped of everything. His career was over, his reputation destroyed, his future erased. Most men would have broken, would have begged for mercy, would have spent the rest of their lives bitter and defeated. Machiavelli did something different. He severed. He severed his attachment to his old life, to his old identity, to being seen a certain way, to being welcomed back into power. And in that severing, he found something more valuable than power: clarity. He sat in exile and he wrote, not to be liked, not to be forgiven, but to tell the truth about how power actually works. He wrote The Prince, a book so clear, so brutally honest about human nature and the mechanics of control that the Vatican banned it 46 years later. They called it evil. They called it dangerous. They put it on the index of forbidden books and made it illegal to own. Why? Because Machiavelli had severed his attachment to being good, to being moral, to being liked. And in that severing, he became free to see reality. Not how it should be, not how we wish it was, but how it actually is. And men who see reality clearly cannot be controlled by institutions built on illusions. So they banned the book, but the book survived, and the men who read it, who truly understood it, they performed the same severing. They cut their attachments, they stopped performing for the invisible audience. They stopped asking permission from ghosts, and they became dangerous. Today I'm going to show you how to perform the same ritual. Not in Renaissance Italy, but in your mind, right now. Because the prison isn't out there, it's in here. And you're the one holding the key. You have a story about yourself, a narrative, an explanation for why you are the way you are. You tell yourself this story every day, sometimes consciously, mostly unconsciously. I'm like this because my father was absent. I struggle with trust because I was betrayed. I can't be successful because I came from nothing. This story feels true. It feels like you. It feels like the foundation of your identity. But here's what Machiavelli would tell you. Your story is a cage, and you built it yourself. You are not your past. You are not your trauma. You are not your origin. You are what you decide to become in this moment, right now, independent of everything that came before. But you can't become that while dragging your origin story behind you like chains. The dangerous man performs the first severing. He looks at his past and says, that happened. It's data, it's information, but it's not me. He refuses to let history be prophecy. Most men live backwards. They look at where they came from and project it forward forever. I was poor, so I'll always struggle with money. I was rejected, so I'll always fear abandonment. The dangerous man lives forward. He decides who he's becoming and reverse engineers the path. The past is irrelevant except as contrast. Here's the practice. Stop saying, I am. Start saying, I was. Not, I am someone who struggles with confidence, but I was someone who struggled with confidence. Not, I am broken, but I was broken. I'm something different now. Past tense. It's over. It has no power except what you give it. And here's what happens when you sever this. You become unpredictable. Because people expect you to behave according to your story. They've categorized you. They know your role. But when you step out of your story, when you refuse to be defined by your past, you become dangerous. Because now they don't know what you're capable of. You're no longer the person they thought they knew. You're new, unknown, threatening. And that's exactly where you need to be. Now we go deeper. Most men think their identity is fixed. They think, "This is who I am," is a statement of fact. It's not. It's a prison sentence you're serving voluntarily. Every time you say, "I'm just not a morning person," or "I'm not good with money," or "I'm an introvert," you're reinforcing bars. Machiavelli understood that identity is a tool, not a truth. The prince must be many things depending on what the situation demands. He must be adaptable, fluid, strategic. But most men cling to a fixed identity because it's comfortable. It gives them permission to not change. This is just who I am. No, that's who you were yesterday, and you're choosing to be that again today. That's not identity, that's habit. The dangerous man performs the second severing. He cuts his attachment to a fixed self. He becomes whoever he needs to be in the moment. Not fake, not performing, but fluid, adaptive, strategic. With one person, he's warm. With another, he's cold. In one situation, he's generous. In another, he's ruthless. And he feels no contradiction, because he's not attached to being a nice guy, or a tough guy, or any guy. He's attached to winning, to thriving, to power. And power requires range, requires flexibility, requires the ability to shift without losing yourself. Most men lack this. They say, "I could never do that. It's not who I am." And they lose. The dangerous man says, "That's not who I've been, but I can become it if necessary." And he wins. Here's the practice. For 1 week, behave opposite to your identity in small ways. If you're the nice guy, be cold once. If you're the serious one, be playful once. If you're the responsible one, be reckless once. Not to change who you are, but to prove to yourself that your identity is a choice, not a fact. And once you know it's a choice, you become dangerous. Because now you can be anything. And people won't know which version they're going to get. This is the deepest cut, the one that most men will refuse. You need things to mean something. You need your suffering to have a purpose. You need your struggle to be building towards something. You need meaning. And that need is your greatest weakness. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is a woman who favors the bold, not the philosophical. She rewards action, not interpretation. But most men spend their lives trying to understand their suffering, trying to find the lesson, trying to make it mean something. And while they're searching for meaning, other men are taking power. The dangerous man performs the third severing. He cuts his attachment to meaning. He accepts that most suffering is random. Most struggle is pointless. Most pain has no lesson. Bad things happen, not because the universe is teaching you, not because you needed to learn, but because chaos exists. And once you accept this, once you stop needing your pain to mean something, you become free. free to move on, free to stop analyzing, free to stop waiting for the universe to explain itself. You just act. You just move. You just take. No philosophy, no deeper meaning, no cosmic lesson. Just power. Machiavelli said the ends justify the means. But most men never reach the ends because they're too busy philosophizing about the means. They're asking, but what does it mean? While dangerous men are asking, what do I want? And taking it. Here's the shift. Stop looking for signs. Stop waiting for clarity. Stop needing your path to make sense. Just decide. Just move. Just become. The meaning comes later, if it comes at all. And if it doesn't, you still won. Let me tell you about the ultimate freedom. Most men are obsessed with legacy, with being remembered, with mattering after they're gone. They want to build something that lasts, leave something behind, be spoken about when they're dead. This obsession with legacy is the final chain. Because when you need to be remembered, you behave differently. You play it safe. You avoid controversy. You try to be liked by as many people as possible. You shape your actions based on how history will judge you. And this makes you controllable, makes you weak, makes you harmless. Machiavelli wrote The Prince knowing he might never see it published, knowing he might die in obscurity. He wrote it anyway, not for legacy, but because he had to, because the truth demanded to be written, regardless of whether anyone ever read it. The dangerous man performs the final severing. He cuts his attachment to being remembered. He acts for now, for himself, for the immediate game in front of him. If people remember him, fine. If they forget him, fine. If they hate him after he's gone, fine. He'll be dead. He won't care. And he doesn't care now. This is the ultimate freedom. When you no longer need to be remembered, you can do anything. You can take risks that would destroy your reputation. You can make enemies who will hate you forever. You can burn bridges that will never be rebuilt. Because you're not building for some imaginary future where people speak your name. You're living for this moment, right now. And paradoxically, these are the men who get remembered. Because they were actually free, actually dangerous, actually alive. While everyone else was performing for history, they were making it. So here's what you do now. You perform the ritual. You sever the attachments, all of them. Your origin story, your fixed identity, your need for meaning, your need to be remembered. Cut them all, cleanly, permanently. And then you'll discover something terrifying and beautiful. You're alone. Completely. No invisible audience, no jury, no validation from ghosts. Just you. In this moment, free to become anything. This will feel like death, because it is. The death of everyone you used to be. The death of everyone you performed for. But on the other side of this death is power. Real power. The kind that can't be given or taken, because it's not dependent on anything external. It's just yours. Machiavelli severed 500 years ago, in a farmhouse, in exile, broken and alone. And he wrote words that outlived empires, not because he wanted legacy, but because he was free. You can do the same, right now, today. Sever the attachments, kill the ghosts, clear the theater, and become the most dangerous thing you can be, yourself. Unbound. Stay dangerous.